Hi guys, I'm Angela. That's Laura and Preston. We're explaining the war on women. We use symbolic interactionism and the standpoint theory in order to help better understand what exactly the war on women is.
Forcing women to have an ultrasound before an abortion is justified because they already made the decision to be vaginally penetrated when they got pregnant.
The agenda of Planned Parenthood includes sexualizing young girls through the Girl Scouts.
If we're gonna pay for your contraceptives and thus pay for you to have sex, we want you to post the videos online so we can all watch.
A woman impregnated through rape should accept that horribly created gift. The gift of human life. Accept what God has given you and make the best of a bad situation.
These aren't our words. They're all real things said by prominent members of the Republican Party.
Judging from their comments, the GOP must have a serious problem with women.
And until the Republicans get over their issues,
We women have got a serious problem with the Republican Party.
MoveOn.org political action is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
So what is the war on women? Okay. The war on women seems to be a campaign by the Republican Party to try and humiliate, intimidate, and control women. In the past, women have been insulted by sexual slurs or privately degraded. For the most part, women have been talked about behind their backs and rarely face to face. Now, women face an even greater issue. We are now being publicly humiliated and offended. In the case of Sandra Fluke. Sandra Fluke, a Georgetown University law student, was embarrassed by Republican Rush Limbaugh in front of a congressional panel. Limbaugh calls her a slut after her testimony for a federal health care exemption. Because she was going against the male figure, she was attacked.
The law student who wants her Catholic school insurance to cover part of her prescription birth control?
What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex.
So all women who don't pay 100% of their birth control costs are prostitutes? When at least 40 million women in this country use contraception? And that doesn't even count the ones using aspirin?
I think my reaction was the reaction that a lot of women have had when historically they've been called these types of names, and that really I think a lot of women across America have had to this. And that was initially to be stunned by it, but then to quickly feel outraged and very upset that again, on the first day of Women's History Month, on that day, a woman is being called these names in an attempt to silence me, to silence all of us from speaking about the health care that we need.
So as you can see, she was attacked for speaking about something that only women can speak about. It's an issue that, women are dealing with. If that's their choice to use birth control, it's their choice. Women's health care. Okay. The war on women has also revolved around the issues of women's health care and the right for women to make their own personal choices about what's best for them and their health.
Republicans are still defending their attack on women's rights. Last week they held hearings on birth control and didn't put any women on their first panel. But they just won't admit they're on the wrong side of this issue. Take a look at what Michelle Bachmann says about it.
There is no anti-woman move whatsoever. The Republican Party is extremely pro-woman.
Really? The GOP is trying to limit women's access to birth control. How is that pro-woman? It's such a joke that the folks at Saturday Night Live took it on.
Really? Really, Congress? You held a congressional committee on reproductive rights and you did not invite any women. Really? That would be like not inviting any men to a congressional committee debating the Maxim Top 100.
I mean, obviously she does point out a good point. How are you going to have a full congressional panel about women and birth control and not have any women anywhere to be found? Okay. Shocking attacks by the GOP. So in the past year, a record of 92 new abortion restrictions were passed in 24 states. Republicans seem to be limiting women's reproductive rights, including birth control, which, just keep in mind, 90% of American women rely on. Here's some other examples of the attack on women. In South Dakota, Republican proposed a bill that could make it legal to murder a doctor who provides abortion care. Another ridiculous one was in Congress, Republicans have a bill that would let hospitals allow a woman to die rather than perform an abortion necessary to save her life. Another one was Maryland Republicans ended all county money for a low-income kids preschool program. No need. They said women should really be home with the kids, not out working. And in reference to that, I mean, for kids that come from a single-parent home, if they don't have a father figure there, do they expect the women to just stay home and stay with the kids? I mean, where's the income going to be coming from if they have to be home with the kids? They need money to eat and survive and go to school and, put clothes on their back.
Arizona's legislature would force women to prove to employers they are using birth control for medical reasons.
In Mississippi today, criminalize abortion as murder.
Arizona. Now, doctors will not face a lawsuit if they fail to tell parents about any risks the unborn child could face.
Pennsylvania would require sonograms before abortions.
A transvaginal ultrasound when seeking an abortion in Virginia.
The Violence Against Women Act, but now for the first time, there's opposition to this.
In Texas, a bill that would block Planned Parenthood from receiving state planning money.
A bill making single parenting child abuse.
So if you're one who likes to beat your wife, you should probably move to Topeka, Kansas because it's legal there.
And the standpoint theory, now Preston will come and explain.
We chose a few different communication theories to help explain this war on women. The first one that we chose was the standpoint theory. Basically what this says is that whenever there's an issue, there are multiple perspectives to it. However, what happens is that the majority opinion is often the only opinion that is heard, and the marginalized groups of people often do not have a say. This is difficult because when the marginalized groups don't have a voice, it's harder for them to get things to change to their way. And it's an uphill battle in the first place. It's much easier to defend the status quo and what's been happening than it is to bring about a change. This theory can help because the marginalized groups often have a better perspective of what the issues actually are and can offer more opportunities to better handle the issue. And that leads into symbolic interactionism. This is basically that perception is reality. So they kind of tie together. When there's multiple perspectives, then there's multiple realities. And this has a number of premises that it works on, that people assign meaning to based on their experiences. Okay, the first principle is the principle of meaning, is that people create meaning for their different objects, and that's what constructs their reality. The second principle is the principle of language, and this says that meaning comes from language, so the day-to-day interactions with other people, the words that people pick to describe things creates the meaning. And then the principle of thought basically states that people can change their perceptions based on their own inner thoughts. This theory also deals with the ideas of self and community. Self can only be defined by comparing yourself to the rest of the community, and that community comes from the socializing effect, determining what social norms are. So this is really important in this topic because women aren't being defined by themselves, they're being defined by the community around them. And now Laura will expand on how these theories describe the war on women.
Language of the war on women. As Preston mentioned, that language defines meaning. And the type of language that's being used in the war on women are words like slut, whore, prostitute, and bimbo, which are being publicly used and not as part of insults anymore. And this creates the public's perceived reality of the figures in the situation. And as Preston mentioned, because the image of self is created by imagining ourselves through another perspective, if female public figures are being offended and calling these sorts of insults, then this belittles the self-image of any woman, because she associates herself as a woman to another woman. And these insults become a cycle back and forth between political parties. Because if one party humiliates another, then the other is going to pick up similar tactics in order to save their self-reputation and avoid losing support and appearing weak. So from the standpoint theory, and symbolic interactionism, we try to set up some few perspectives of the war on women. So there's one perspective of men trying to defend their role in society by defending the status quo. And that more recently, the roles of men and women are becoming less defined, and that more women are taking on typically male-dominated careers, and more men are taking up typical housewife roles. And we call this the in-group, which includes the dominant male leaders. And because they are the in-group, they have their opinions heard and have the most support. So this is a fairly recent trend that women have been entering politics. In 1992, women were encouraged to enter politics. And in 2008, it was a historic event when the first woman won the nomination of a major political party in the US presidential elections. So because this is a recent trend, there's bound to have opposition. Another perspective we defined was women offended by the control. So this is the out-group, and they oppose the status quo, and they conflict with the in-group. And these people are offended by the policies that are being passed that control women's opportunities. And in the end, they are being demeaned because they defend the status quo. One thing to mention is that 72% of the Republican commentator, Rush Limbaugh, are men. So as you can see, women do not support what he has to say or his opinions about the policies that are specifically targeted towards women and female opportunities. Another perspective is that they think this is not a war at all, that this is a phony political debate created by the media and that conveys a false reality to the public. And this video, you'll see that it's not the first time that a debate has been labeled as a war.
We're on Hanukkah now too?
This is the war on Easter. War on, wait for it, fall holidays.
Let's talk war on Halloween, war on fossil fuels, war on the Constitution,
War on ladies' night.
war on fishermen. Can you accept the war on salt?
It's the war on chocolate milk.
War on sugary drinks.
War on food.
Is this a nanny state war on spuds?
The liberal media wages a war on conservative women.
The media is waging a war against conservative women.
So this is not the first war we've been involved in. This perspective thinks that the debate is created to specifically target certain voters in order to win the election. For example, a reasonable approach for the Republicans that they're trying to target certain religious voters, such as the Catholics, in order to gain the majority of the vote and win. And another approach the Democrats could use is that they could say that since the Republicans are against women, just vote for the Democrats because we're not against women. And this is a reasonable approach because more women have voted in the presidential election since 1964. So this could be a tipping point. Okay. For our conclusion, we stated some possible solutions to the war on women. Okay, so to complicated issues due to multiple perspectives. So according to the standpoint theory, it states that you must look through the lens, the lens of all the perspectives. And with the war on women, the only perspective being seen is the men's. And when women give their perspectives, they are shot down because then they're going against the status quo. So not all the perspectives are being seen in this situation. Also, symbolic interactionism helps define these perspectives. The symbol of what it means to be a woman, the image of a woman has become hypersexualized in the past. Due to like the media and how women are being portrayed in advertisements and how the insults that are being chosen against women are targeted specifically towards their sexuality, it doesn't really help the situation either. And public figures with voices should focus on the values of the public, not on winning the election. But what we can gather is that the debate will probably terminate after this year's presidential election. And it is possible that the Republicans might not be favored because they've been targeted as starting the war. However, the greatest dangers is not what voters remember, but their impressions are, and these things may be untrue, but they can never be erased. So after this whole situation settles down, people are not going to remember who said this and who said that, and like what state passed this, but they're going to remember their emotions during this time. So it's going to have an effect on the future. Thank you.